Hey everybody, this is Jay Young. I am the host of the Jay Young Show. Thank you for being here today. Sponsored by King Operating. Go to kingoperating.com to learn more about passive income, oil and gas investing, multiple on investment, and also tax benefits, which big for taxes right now. It's unbelievable. But anyway, so today we have Jordan Soto, my co-host. Hey Jordan, how are you doing today?
Hello. I mean, big news, Jay. Last night, election.
Man, I tell you what, I think there was an election last night, wasn't there?
I think so. I think
the...
that's what the hubbub was all about.
Man, I tell you what.
It's interesting. I know that it takes a while for those votes to come in, but it's I don't know that it was close. It feels like it was really close.
Yeah, Trump was out pretty fast, and all of a sudden, with California coming in, that was a big electoral vote for Harris. So therefore, she just catching up, and all of a sudden you're like, okay. But then with Pennsylvania and some other states, I think as soon as Pennsylvania declared Trump, it was over. But that was after I went to bed.
We've talked about this before. It does feel a little bit like that of a game show whenever we're looking at the coverage of it and the villainizing of one party over the other and things like that. But, I'm interested, you as a leading entrepreneur, especially in the energy industry, what do you think is going to be the biggest impacting factor of having Trump be in office?
That's a good question, and this is my humble opinion, but I feel like the drill baby drill will get underway, but I don't think it's going to be as big as it was, his last when he was president before his last term. And the reason why is because the capital is pulling out of the markets. There's not as much capital coming into the markets, and it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, I know I'm not saying that about Trump, but it doesn't matter who you are, but you can't talk billion-dollar, trillion-dollar investment companies to come into the oil business if they don't want to. It's
right.
And also, too, what they saw before was Trump talked them into it. They came into the business, and all of a sudden prices went to, negative during COVID. So therefore, it was like, okay, we lost
this money. They're a little gun shy, a little shock, yes. I would say a little gun shy then, it seems.
And there's so many other places to put money that we're not going to see AI, there's alternative investments and all these other things that are going on, real estate, commercial. But there's just not going to be the run for it. Plus,
right.
The one thing that I am seeing is, I know you get me on a soapbox, I'm gone, man. But but if you think about it for a second, we do not produce enough oil in the United States for our capacity. We need 20 million barrels a day. 20 million barrels a day. We're producing 13. That's -7.
Oh, wow.
Okay. But even the 13 that we're producing, we're sending some overseas because of refineries not being able to refine that oil. So therefore, all we need is 10 or 11 here. We don't need 30 million, it's like 20, 30, 40 million barrels a day. We couldn't do that. But I'm just saying if we did produce that, our refineries are shut down. There's refineries shutting down in California recently, which we talked about on the show. And there's just so many different things regulations that aren't going to allow refineries to come in on every corner, And so therefore, we're not going to see the drill baby drill as we saw before. Yes, I know that Trump did raise a tremendous amount of money for his campaign from oil and gas people, and he promised them, places like offshore that you can drill now, and he's gonna sign off on it, and that's all good. But we're not going to get to 15 million barrels or 16 million barrels a day anytime soon. But even if we did, we couldn't refine it anyway. We'd ship it offshore.
Right. And we've talked, on the show, we want to help people learn the ins and outs of becoming an entrepreneur and what it takes and where to invest in, and talking with different people in different industries and things like that. You've also talked about, Telluride and investing in real estate there. You're in the oil and gas industry. So what industry do you think is going to have the biggest boom with Trump being in office?
Oh, it's a good question. Yeah, I think real estate is setting up. I mean, there's too many notes out there, commercial real estate that are set right now. They're paying 4% interest. You're seeing commercial real estate occupancies going down. There's new places being built. There's all these notes out there that are the lender or the person that bought the building is paying 4%. And those notes are coming due in the next, 6, 12, 18 months. And they're going to refinance them at 8%. Well, my goodness, you can't pay 4, so they're going to be looking for a way out. Right now they're holding on as much as possible. So I really feel like commercial real estate will be great. I mean, you're always going to have residential, which people always have to have a place to live.
Right. Well, and we have a housing crisis with affordable housing and the lack thereof. I mean, I know Denver is a huge hotspot for not enough houses. So yeah, to your point, I absolutely see that.
Yeah, and I'm still obviously I'm very optimistic about the oil business, and even if prices do come down a little bit in our business, it costs less to drill, right? So instead of costing $10 million to drill a well, if price goes down to 50, let's say, well, it's going to cost 7.5, 8 million, because not as many people are drilling, supply and demand, all that. So, hey, I'm excited about that. And I want to know what Elizabeth thinks about that. She's a visionary. I don't know how to say your last name.
Gerbel?
Gerbel? Okay. Elizabeth Gerbel, the visionary founder and CEO of EAG Services. We're glad to have her today on here. She's been an entrepreneur since 2003. Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. She dedicated herself to creating a consulting organization that not only possesses deep industry knowledge, but also forms a true partnership with clients in the oil and gas sector. So, hey, welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Jordan's here, and we met briefly before, just kind of talking about it. And I tell you, I love our conversations before the show, Jordan. You know what I'm saying? I mean, man, some of these are the best conversations. But then all of a sudden I got to go, whoa, wait. That's awesome, but let's say that on air.
Hold it for the show.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Elizabeth, when you're looking at your business and just trailing off of the conversation that we've had, one, congratulations on being one of the few female CEOs in the energy industry. Quite the feat. Not a lot of us, women in the industry. Better now, but definitely not a lot of women being CEOs in the energy industry. So quite the feat. Congratulations on establishing your business and keeping it growing. What do you think is going to be the biggest impacting factor and biggest opportunity for your business with Trump being in office now?
I think really that pro-business approach that he has, the ability to let businesses really drive in this organization, in this country through capitalism. I think one of the things that really came through in the election is that people were looking for an opportunity for job creation. They want to feel like they can make more than they need to just have the basics of life, to be able to enjoy life again and to feel that there is some certainty. And really, I feel like that was what came out of the election. And I think for our industry, his approach towards deregulation, his pro-business stance, all of that is helpful because it really lets companies feel like we can move forward and we're not going to be absorbing unexpected risk in the marketplace because of government regulations and changes that stymie our abilities to grow and to continue to move forward.
That's great. That's really good. I tell you, that's a good answer. What is your? Let's go back a little bit and talk about, because I'm with you. I mean, during Trump last time, man, it's like everything was favored for the entrepreneur and business and generating revenue. I mean, it was like that was really good. But also too, we're looking at a great, country today that and we've had some really good positives here in the last a few years with oil prices and our business going forward, because it's like, man, what's the best thing for your business? Well, solid. I don't mean $150 oil. I mean, that's not what. I mean, that would be great if we were selling a deal, but if you're buying or drilling or whatever, that's different. But you may like that. You may like $150 oil. Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about your business.
So basically, starting in 2003, our business was really focused on consulting for IT, business process for upstream, and we did a little midstream, but mostly the upstream oil and gas industry. And over time, we just kept on taking on more and more complicated projects. And starting in about 2015, our clients really started asking me, well, you started the consulting business. Why can't you start a business that helps us not have to stand up every system when we reform a new organization, when management teams come in and really start a new company, and help us actually do the work in the back office and for IT. And so we took the challenge, and I founded EAG OneSource, which is our outsourcing organization, and it really just took off. I was very nervous about it. It took us about a year and a half to really get it off the ground. So we really started selling in 2019, and then 2020 happened. And you mentioned investors and capital. Well, we're a bootstrapped company. I'm the founder, owner. I don't have any external investors. And so 2020 was probably one of the scariest times for EAG and for me personally, because nobody had really experienced that before in our lifetime, right? The COVID experience. And then when oil prices went negative, that had never happened before. So I felt like I was navigating something that I had never seen before. And, but really it kept working. Having the outsourcing business tied with consulting helped us get through that period. And now we've grown tremendously. And yeah, we offer full management consulting, back office outsourcing for upstream, midstream, and what I call energy adjacent companies, renewables, mining, and we're just continuing to add to our service line. So it's been a really exciting ride.
Wow. So
what was it like? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, I was going to say, I'm not 100% sure I understand 100% yet. So help me out with that. So IT means that you're going to hook up my internet or my phone systems and anything else. So if I'm building a new
I
building,
think it goes further than that, Jay. I think it goes towards
I'm just trying to get the basics. So basic and
data management and things.
Yeah.
Right. And so let's say that you started a company, Jay, you start an oil and gas company, and you're moving into an office. You need internet, you need servers. We do all of that. But then you also need systems. You need systems for your field personnel. You need SCADA. You need security. You need your accounting system, land, production. If you're midstream, you need your transportation and your nomination systems, all of those to be in place. And so what we do is we work with companies to help identify what's the right system. We help implement those systems. We connect all the systems together, make sure that you can report out of those systems. And so it's really an end-to-end process that we do for companies. Now, that's a startup example. Other companies, have been in business for 20 more plus years, or maybe even 100 years, and they call us and say, look, we've just outgrown the systems that we have, or we like the system we have, but for some reason it's not doing all of the things that we expected. And then we just go in and help them get from the point they're at today to where they really want to be and maximize that investment in their IT systems.
What has been the biggest challenge with creating a better system? Is it the change management and getting the people on board with with the new system structure? I mean, we see that a lot. So I work for Newton Vision Corporation, which also does some of the things that you're talking about for different industries. But that's one of the biggest things that we've seen is like when there's change that happens, the change management is one of the bigger parts of it, because you can optimize this structure in the system, but getting people on board and then utilizing it correctly is quite the uphill battle. So I'm curious to know, like, in your perspective, what has been the biggest challenge with working with companies to help optimize their business transformation in that sense?
Yeah, I think the change management is a big issue because people don't like change. Just inevitably, they reject change or they
Right.
are afraid of it. And so that fear manifests itself in, not understanding the training or not wanting to participate in testing or wanting the go live to push back, which causes expenses to increase. But also what I see with system implementations that I think causes a lot of the negative outcomes is folks really trying to retrofit the system to be what they're used to. So instead of not just following the process and getting to the end, we also see folks really pushing for the system to work the way they had their old system working. And so when you do that, you're breaking how these systems were designed, and the results can be really devastating. And so we also get hired to come into companies and where the systems just don't function the way they should at all. And when we really dig into it, it's because they either did enhancements that broke the system, or they're doing a lot of things outside the system to try to make the process work the way they're used to. And really, it just all comes down to that change. You have to start the change initiative at the ground level. You have to have the executive support. But if the folks on the ground don't believe in what's happening and you don't spend time listening to them, then and really providing them with all of the information they need to feel comfortable with the change, it's just not going to work out the way you want it to. And some of these projects are multi-million-dollar endeavors, and for that to fail is not catastrophic, but it's really a negative investment opportunity. It's an investment opportunity that's lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, interesting.
So
I know that
you
when
want your drills to work out. You want your system implementations to work out too.
well, there's so much to it, and there's so many different, like with us. I mean, we changed software middle of last year, I believe, and man, it's been. And the new software is not as good as the old software, or it does things differently, and it's like there's so many different things that if we would have thought through it a little bit better, and instead of making that decision just kind of on the fly thinking. But it costs, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it costs a tremendous amount of manpower to change from one system to the next, and to not really, so I guess how would you, and now I've got accounting softwares, I've got payables. I mean, we have our oil and gas company with all our different softwares that we have over there. I mean, how would you? I'm trying to think. How would I ask somebody, or somebody was talking to me and they said, "Hey, I've got this problem. Why would I call you?" Or why? Not why, but I'd call you anyway, Elizabeth. But
Because she's nice.
when would I call you if I'm talking to a CEO and they're going, "Yeah, well, we have what?" Why would I? When would I call you? Or
I think what
data?
you're talking about, Jay, is like the unique selling point. Like, what is the differentiating factor that you offer, Elizabeth, in the marketplace? Because there's so many consulting firms, and I think oftentimes the consulting firms get a really bad rep because they're like, here are all the things that are wrong with your business, right? Instead of being a partner and connecting. Is that what you're asking, Jay? Like, what sets Elizabeth apart?
Yeah. People come to you because of what?
Yeah, so they come to us because we know the systems, and really this kind of ties together our consulting and our outsourcing business. Not only are we implementing systems, but we're end users, and that's a very different thing. Being a consultant and getting a system up and running and being the end user that has to deal with it day to day, those are completely different experiences for people. One can feel very successful and one can feel very unsuccessful and, downtrodden if it's not working correctly. And so people call us because we know what the business requirements are for their business, at least to an 80%, right? And so we're looking to understand their business and how they're different so that we can put these requirements in place and work with the software vendors so they can demonstrate how their system works for that particular company. So we're very active in how the demonstrations are going to work so people can see, they can have insight into the experience of using that company or that company's software. And what is the experience of working with that software company, because they're having a lot of these conversations. So it's beyond just doing a request for proposal. It's really taking it in and getting a good feel for how the system is going to help you, and then comparing the systems like for like, because sometimes that can be hard. One company is very excited about their new AI module. Another company is super excited about how they can report off of XYZ. Well, but neither one of those might be of interest to the actual customer and the customer. And so we really need to make sure that we're looking at the things that matter, which could be accounts payable, it could be regulatory reporting, it could be the reporting that comes out of the system itself. And so that's what we're doing. We're working with our customers to understand, what it is that they would consider a win from the investment of the software package, and how do we ensure that they pick the right software package. That's step one. And then implementing it correctly is step two. And you mentioned, that companies have a hard time with these implementations. Part of it is that, you need backfill resources so that the people who know how the system should work, what the outcome should be from the client, are on the project. Well, doing 2 day jobs is almost impossible. And so, helping them, and we have this outsourcing group that could come in and temporarily fill those roles so that they can focus on the project. That's another value proposition that we bring to the table.
Wow, interesting. That's really good. You
What made you want to start EAG, and how did you pick the name?
Yeah, so I guess I was being lazy that day. So it's just my initials.
What does it stand for?
Elizabeth
Oh, it
Gerbel.
stands for your initials.
Yeah.
I kept thinking energy advisor.
That's what I was thinking.
The Energy Advisor Group. That's what some people tell me. Yeah, no, it's just my initials. And so, yeah, I had always wanted to start a business. I didn't know what I was going to start, but my experience with Anderson Consulting before it was Accenture, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then having partners in a previous business, McKinley Powell, all really led me to starting EAG and starting it in a way that made sense for me as a business owner. I really like collaborating with my team, but having partners I found was very difficult. Getting alignment on goals and specific practices for the business was just extremely difficult, and that's not where I wanted to spend my time. So, really, Trevor Reese-Jones was one of my clients from Chief Oil and Gas, and at the time that I was trying to decide whether to start EAG, and he, was like, well, are you afraid of being on your own? And I said, no, I'm afraid of a lot of things, but that's not one of them. So he said, well, go down the hall, talk to our general counsel, and basically take him to lunch and he'll help you get set up. And so for the price of a cheese enchilada Mexican lunch special, their general counsel helped me get EAG
Trevor
started.
Reese Jones's general counsel.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And this was in 2000.
This was in 2003.
2003.
Yeah, the spring
Wow, that's great.
2003.
So Trevor's the one that kind of helped you go, hey, you need to start your own firm, or do you want to? How would you? And then set you up. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess he was your first client?
He was a client that I had with McKinley Powell as we were wrapping that business up.
Okay. I don't know what
He
McKinley
probably
Powell
doesn't
is.
even remember that, but it was one of those moments that was changed my life, basically. So
The McKinley Powell? What is McKinley Powell?
McKinley Powell was a business I started with some guys out of business school. I went and got my MBA at the University of Texas at Austin at a great time, 99 to 2001. So I was there when the .com was just booming, and I was there when the .com industry fell on its face. And so coming out of the MBA program, there were really no jobs. I mean, if you think about that year, it was horrendous. The .com industry had crashed. The venture capital, private equity industry crashed. The consulting industry came out of Y2K, so they didn't have any real, the business had basically crashed on that end. Then we had 9/11 and Enron. So it was just an epic disaster of a year to graduate with student loans and everything else. So you have to figure out what to do. And, it's the United States. You set up your shingle and get moving and find some money.
What was that like? I mean, my gosh, the emotional turmoil that you must have gone through in that time.
It was terrible. Yeah, it was so terrible in the first year. I did.
And I thought I had a stressful time. I'm like thinking, I'm listening to this. I'm like, I don't know. I was walking through daisies.
I know. Well, the first year out of graduate school, so thinking about that, I was a manager at PricewaterhouseCoopers when I went to graduate school. I had paid out of my own pocket to go full-time to grad school. The first year out, I did my taxes after that first year, and I qualified for food stamps according to TurboTax.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was just horrendous.
Wow.
But luckily, after that, things took off and obviously resulted
What kept you motivated? What kept you going? I mean, that is really tough.
Yeah, I'm just stubborn. That's all I can say.
Hey, perseverance. That's what we call us entrepreneurs. Perseverance, again. Not stubborn. But it's the same thing, but it sounds a little bit better. But
yes, with the PR spin.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jay. Yeah.
So 2001, you leave McKinley Powell, or you start McKinley Powell, I guess, and then a couple years later, Trevor goes, "Hey, so do you want to start your own business and do IT?" And at this time, you're just setting up, doing like a company that's moving. I guess you're finding people that move from one space to the next, and you go, "Hey, I'll set up all your internet." At that time, I guess they had to dial in.
The systems. Back then, all we did were software systems.
Yeah.
So I wrote with my partners at McKinley Powell, we had done an analysis of the different software systems that were available. I kept that, and I was able to sell that. And that got me more customers. But yeah, it was just me and a couple of contractors. And then a couple of years later, I changed people from contract to employee. And now we're 160 employees and 20 contractors.
Oh my gosh. So
I was going to ask you, how many people?
That's the American dream right there, Jay.
I know. How many people and how much revenue? I mean, it's like, man, that is 150 to 160 employees. That's awesome. Who would have thought?
Yeah, so we bounce around, but yeah, we're, I think, around 150 right now with 20 contractors and 40 plus million in revenue.
That's
What
awesome.
is what was the biggest difference between having like partners and then being on your own? I know that you had said like it was tough to get all the partners like to agree on the initiative and initiative
Mhm.
approach and things like that. But one of the things that Jay and I have talked about previously in some of our other episodes is the autonomy of being an entrepreneur and having, there is a funny saying that's like, I quit my 9 to 5 to have a 24/7 job, right? Because when
That's
you're
right.
when you're a CEO, it's not like, you can clock in, clock out. Like everything falls on you. The buck stops here, as Jay has said
Mhm.
before, when you're looking at that difference, what are the pros and cons of having partners and then being on your own?
So I think the pro on having partners, especially in that first business, was, there were more people that were around to help me come up with ideas
Mm,
on how to run the business. But I think the harder part was, um, and we were in different phases of our lives. They were getting married, they were starting families and things, and I was single and focused on work. And so, they were really looking at how do I turn this into where I can take longer vacations and spend
yeah.
time with my family. And I'm thinking, how do we, not qualify for food stamps and
Right.
really build the business and grow it. Um, and so we just had different priorities, and you can't have that and have a successful partnership. And so, it was better for me to go solo and build the company up with team members who, over time I got folks who were aligned with what I was trying to accomplish. And those folks have gone from being consultants to now being vice presidents of the company. And we're very much aligned on what we're trying to accomplish on a day-to-day basis.
So what do you think Trevor saw in you? What do you think he saw in you to go, okay, now this is it. I'm going to put this lady in charge of my IT forever, IT forever. And what do you think he saw in you?
Well, yeah, let's be clear. I was doing a project for him. I did not run his IT. And I wrapped up that project and moved on to other things as part of EAG. So this was really just him, I think, encouraging me and giving me a shot at a different experience. So I very much appreciate that about him. Um, I think he saw that I just had a very strong work ethic. I was there day in and day out on that project. I was there on weekends and nights, making sure it got done. And I think he recognized that, and that was a great quality. But it was also something that I had to learn as the company grew, that I couldn't have my fingers in every project, and I
Oh,
couldn't
it's so
be
tough.
doing the work. I had to be working on the business, and that was a huge challenge for me
Wow.
to learn.
Yeah, I think Jay, I think you can relate to that too, because you like to really understand every part of your business, and I'm kind of that way as well. I really like to like be a part of it and learn new things, and like and one of the biggest questions, and I'll ask this to both of you guys, Jay, I'd love to have your insight on this as well, is like, how do you make sure that you stay up to date on everything that's occurring in the industry, and you have that understanding at that really ground level while being almost removed in a sense to have that overview and that forward sight as a leader and as a CEO of the business to keep it innovative and fresh and on that forward trend. It's so difficult. As somebody who's wanting to be an entrepreneur, like both of you guys, I just am. I struggle with like pulling myself back and not being so far into the weeds with the team to like have that landscape overview. So what tools and what perspectives have helped you, Jay and Elizabeth, to really take that step back, but still be knowledgeable and invested in the industry?
Go ahead, Elizabeth, if you want to take the first.
To me, it was getting to points where I realized I was treading water, and I wasn't. I don't know. I have an analogy where you can't dig yourself out of the hole; the dirt's just falling on top of you. And so I kind of had to go find a network of people. And for me, at the time, it was Vistage, which is a networking group for CEOs, and met with other CEOs. And I was part of that for 7 years. But really, they helped me kind of understand that I had to step out of certain roles. I had to trust, but verify with my team and learn how to hold people accountable. And, you start seeing it working, and you start realizing that under stress, you go back to the things and you have to control yourself from doing that. But it took some time, and I'm going to say that I took 2 steps forward, 1 step back for a long time on that. And now that we're at our size now, it's, different. And so you realize, oh, things are changing again, and I have to be faster at recognizing those things and adjusting how I behave.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
And you have to replace yourself. I mean, it's like when you first get into business. I mean, you got bills coming. You haven't generated that first dollar, so you're just generating dollars, and then all of a sudden, then you get in your business and you're 100% in your business. You're making money. You're losing money. You're making mistakes. You're making. It's like there's all these different things that go along with the business, and then all of a sudden you find out what's repeatable. I mean, it's like, okay, I got something that's repeatable. We like to look for locations to drill wells, right? And multiple locations that are at a internal rate of return of 35% or higher. So if I could develop those, then I can go get a rig and I can go drill a well and I can get a 35% or plus internal rate of return. That's a location. I want to have 200 locations so I can go get rigs all the time. Once I do that, then I can step back and I can say, hey, okay, now we'll have some people that come in that handle that side of the business because it's repeatable. And then at that point, I can say, okay, I can sit back and not sit back, but just learn or read or talk to knowledgeable people, CEOs, like Elizabeth said, people that are knowledgeable in the business going forward, the 3-year, 5-year plan, instead of the, okay, I got to be on my phone. Right? Oh my goodness, I got a text message from somebody. I got to go spend the next 3 days fixing something. I don't know the new ways to frack wells. I don't know that, but I do have a lot of people. We got 3 engineers that know exactly what they're doing, and we have a ton of consultants that know how to frack these wells, and they're in their own location, and they're using the new technology. So, it's like Mark Cuban says, I read 8 hours a day. I'm not doing my business 8 hours a day. Most CEOs like us should be behind a mic 8 hours a day instead of running your business. My business should run whether I'm there or not.
I think that goes back to the people, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever you're hiring people, making sure that and that's something else. When you're looking at creating the team and creating the culture, what are the biggest impacting factors, Jay and Elizabeth, with crafting that team and creating that culture to then be a reflection of what you've started?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest recruiting factor is, are we bringing in folks who want to be part of what we've created and take it to the next step? Or are we hiring folks who want to come in and do what they did before? Because those two things are going to collide, and they do. And so, we work very hard on our recruiting and trying to find the right team fit, and we need the skills, but we also need the team fit, or else you start having a lot of noise in the business that is completely non-valuable and requires a lot of time to sift through where it's coming from, why it's happening, and how to get rid of it. And so to me, recruiting is key, and finding people who can align with your culture and where you're going is absolutely critical. And this is where failing fast is the most valuable technique possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think a guy told me this 30 years ago. I was at my other company, so it was before 95, because I started my company in 95, but it was like in the 90s, early 90s. This guy told me, I was in management there, and we were kind of, and one of the gentlemen that was a sales manager, we were hiring some different salespeople and all that. So, and I said, hey, what do you think about this guy? And he goes, well, hey, I think we need to give him a shot. And I said, are you sure? I don't know if I like this guy, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, yeah. He goes, hey, but you know what I've always learned? And I said, what? And he goes, if you can't change the people, change the people. Okay, so that is something that I know we're not really good at, because we don't like firing people, especially people have families and all that. But slow to hire. I'm gonna say this too: slow to hire, quick to fire, is one of my sayings that I don't really live by very well sometimes. Number one, but number two is, if you can't change the people, change the people. I think I'm going to have people sign off on that when they come to work for us. Hey, these are two slogans.
That's tagline number 2.
Slow to hire, quick to fire. So if they don't work out, just let them go. I mean, that's it's
so tough. It's tough. My first hire was actually my first fire, and that was like the hardest part. And like, because I was so excited, and they are so talented, and like, I saw the potential, and I still see the potential, and I love the work, but man, like they just weren't a fit. And that was the unfortunate part, is that they weren't a fit, but I still respect them and their work and what they can create and things like that. But yeah, no, it just wasn't a fit. And so that was tough to go through, because nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be like, all right, sorry, see ya. But it is necessary, right? So because you have to protect your team, you have to protect your culture, and you have to make sure that the initiatives that have been set are being, finished and completed in a effective manner. So yeah, no, very tough, very tough.
Yeah. I
couldn't imagine 160 people. Jay, I don't know how many people work at King Operating.
We have about 45, 50 in-house, and then we have, when we're drilling wells and all that, we have to hire people, which is also tough. Short-term people to drill wells and do things of that nature, but not as many as Elizabeth does. So, hey, how many cities are you
Elizabeth.
in? How many cities are you in, and how many clients do you have?
Yeah, so on any given month, we have about 100 customers, 100 clients that we're working with on 150.
Each month?
100.
Oh my gosh.
So that's
you
a
definitely
juggling
don't take all those
too.
phone calls.
It's a fascinating juggling act. And then we have about 150 engagements that we're working on between consulting, outsourcing, and we do have a few other smaller types of projects that we do. But I want to go back to the hiring and firing really quick.
Please, yes.
Just because learning how to do that is an absolute necessity if you're an entrepreneur. If you can't let people go, you don't have a business. It would be great to say that everyone's a fit, but that's just not how it works. And if you're hiring talented people, they are going to find another job very quickly. So, you can't let your own fears and feelings prevent you from taking the company to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
Wise words. I approve. I approve this message.
It's just so hard. I agree.
She approves this message.
I think I missed one of your questions, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great. And I agree with you 100%. You got, and I'm not good at it. My wife's not good at it. I mean, it's like one of those things. That's why we have departments and hey, okay, we need this person right here. Yeah. Take it out. But,
yeah.
But anyway, no, I think.
Yeah. So you asked where we were located. So we're headquartered out of Houston. but we hire talent all across the country. We are US based, so we have folks so it was fun to watch the election last night because I have folks in Colorado, folks in Oklahoma,
Everywhere.
folks in Pittsburgh, and, Pennsylvania being one of those key states. So it was kind of fun to watch it and to, track how many electoral counts each state had and that sort of thing. So yeah, we hire people based on their skills. Obviously, having been in the business for 20 years, I'm not embarrassed to say I do like having people, in the office and in Houston, but I understand that we're not going to find all of our talent in those locations, and I have to adjust. And it's worked out. I mean, COVID really helped me see the possibilities of remote work.
That's great.
But it
Congratulations.
also showed me some of the negatives of cultural impact to having people away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that Jay, you've talked quite a lot about is the in-office versus virtual and hybrid, which you also prefer in person. Am I correct, right, Jay?
I do. Yeah, especially our C-suite people, obviously, that's a big thing. We want people inside here, and I want to be able to collaborate with them. I can get on the phone for so long, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, well, I need to see you. I need to see your eyes. I need to see how you're reacting, which you really can't see that so I'd prefer it.
Yeah, you lose something. I mean, I think that there's definitely an energy exchange whenever you have the water cooler talk. You're in passing. There's ideas that get sparked.
Oh, they're going to
and
shoot the
things like
finger at
that.
me. As soon as the camera goes off, they're going to shoot the finger at me. So I know. No, I'm just kidding. But
No, they wouldn't,
they
Jay.
would. But I'm
You're a
not. We shouldn't
sweetheart.
say
No,
that,
they
but
wouldn't.
Jordan probably does. No, I'm just kidding. She doesn't.
No, get out of here. Well, Elizabeth, I have one last question for you. Jay, I don't know if you have any other questions for Elizabeth.
No, I'll just wrap it up after your question, if you don't mind.
All right. All right. So, Elizabeth, the typical famous last question of the podcast. So you've had quite the journey. I mean, the start, a lot of turbulence. All right. But then you got on your feet, you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps, and now you are in this amazing positioning, one of the few female CEOs in the energy industry. You have perseverance, you have the passion, you have the team around you that you've helped crafted. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give her?
The advice I would give her is to be more confident from the beginning. Really, I, lacked a lot of confidence. I wanted to know more, to do more, and sometimes you just have to go. You just have to move forward. Just that momentum of forward motion gets you where you want to go. And yes, you do have to work hard, but you don't need to know everything on day one. And I think that was something that held me back quite a bit. And then as that started moving away from that, I started training other folks, to just move forward. I think at Accenture, the word was 80% of the time you're right, 20% of the time you're wrong. You can fix 20%. So just keep moving forward. And I really wish that I had known that earlier. I think my life would have been a lot more pleasant without all of the fears and concerns I had as a 20-something-year-old.
Full body chills when you were like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just go, just get it started. Just all of the chills, because it's so hard to just start. But it's like the anticipation is really the killer, because once you get started, like you said, get that forward momentum. Jay, I know that you can relate to that too. You just get started and go, and then things, you will work it out. It's active problem solving, and that's just a part of the entrepreneurship. So
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
resonates with me, Elizabeth. I am sure it's going to resonate with somebody else, and I hope that is at least what one person needed to hear today, which is You don't have to be perfect. You just have to get started.
Yeah. Step off the cliff. It might be a curb. I mean, just
That's
do
true.
what
Hey,
you need
where
to
do you see EAG in 5 years?
Really, I see us continuing to grow within the industry, but also moving more and more towards what I call the industry adjacent folks, because there's a lot of companies that support oil and gas. And since we understand oil and gas, it's very easy to understand those businesses too. And I feel like we bring a lot of value. We do right by our clients, and I think that we can be competitive in additional markets.
Wow. Will AI change your business?
Yes, definitely it will. I feel like it's going to help us eliminate a lot of the redundant work that isn't value add and allow us to do our jobs faster and more accurately. I'm a big proponent of technology, obviously, and we are constantly scrutinizing it to see what it actually can do versus the noise of what it should be able to do, so that we can bring valuable tools to the market.
That's good. I know I'm surprised Jordan didn't ask that question. We talk a lot about AI on the show and talk about how that affects, I don't know, it's in the cloud or something. AI, I'm not 100% sure what it means yet, but it's something out there that I'm still looking for. Maybe it's in my car. I don't know. But I tell you what, I know we're out of time. Elizabeth, man, it has been, and Jordan, you know what? We did a good job this time because we asked how many employees and what's your revenues, because I think that's really, because I mean, if I don't know, I mean, she's in an office, right? I mean, she's in an office, it looks like from here, but if she wouldn't have been in an office, we would have known, hey, you know what? She could just be in her apartment or something and generating, she has one client that whatever, I mean, but now we're seeing Elizabeth.
It is important to know.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing her shine. I mean, man, so think about 2003 to today, she's growing her business, 40 million in revenues, 150 employees, and she's going to grow that in the future. That is just really, really great the way we got that question asked and finding out, because, hey, I mean, it's anybody, I'm not saying that anybody could do this, but if I could do this, anybody could do this. It's not too terribly hard it just takes some stubbornness, as Elizabeth said. We'll talk about perseverance, but it takes some of that in the very beginning, and then it's just increasing, putting your money back in your business, growing it. And Elizabeth, man, congratulations on an incredible job. I think I'm going to have dinner.
Thank you so much for having me too on the show.
Absolutely. I'm having dinner with Rex Tillerson and Trevor Reese-Jones may be there. I don't know, on the 12th, which is coming up, I think, in about a week. So I'm gonna ask Trevor about
Tell him the story, and he'll be like, I don't remember this one. It was a 10-minute conversation for him and a life changer for me.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes that's how it goes. You just plant those little seeds, and then they blossom, and so what a fantastic start. But congratulations again. Thanks so much for being on the show. We look forward to seeing where you're at in the next year and next 5 years.
Man, that's awesome. And it's not about your network. It's not about your net worth. It's about your network, right? It just takes one person and the same thing with me. People have heard my story, and I'll tell it again next time. I know we're out of time, but network, be nice to people. Don't go out there and be nice to people. Be a good person. If you're a good person, people like you. They're attracted to you. That's like Jordan on this show. I mean, we get along so well. We talk. We get things out of people, and it's like we have fun with it. And that's what we want to do is to help people change lives and
even if it's just one.
Man, just one today. I guarantee we will. I guarantee it. There's people out there thinking about this going, man, if Jay Young can do this.
Hey, I feel like this is all resonating with Elizabeth, because one of her things is giving more than receiving. So so I think that we're all in alignment there, and we want to help others. And I think that is where we all have that through line, that little golden string, as it were.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, everybody, we got to go. But Elizabeth, thanks again for being here. Jordan, thanks for coming on as my co-host again. Great job. Appreciate both of you. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you back here on end of the week. I will be here. I'm not sure if it's live on Friday, but we'll be here on Friday. But I really appreciate you. Go down there. Tell me what you think about Elizabeth, and if you need IT or back office, she's the person to call. She's got it figured out. Isn't that right?
Is it EAG.com or where do they go?
EAGinc.com.
In EAGinc.com. Perfect.
She's got it figured out, I guarantee you. So thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and talk to you again soon.